Hi everyone. Well, today we are working on a colorful fall leaf in watercolor. So this is kind of what we're going for. You can do a maple leaf or an oak leaf. I'm fine with either, actually any leaf, as long as it's got some good color and some good shapes. So in class we are going to work on a color wheel. You will be getting a little tin like this with 5 colors. That is all you're going to need for this project. You will get 2 paintbrushes to borrow from me, and I will give you paper. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do, so in class we will have made this, so you'll be able to see all your colors. We'll have, you're getting cadmium yellow, you're getting ultramarine blue, magenta, burnt sienna, and lamp black. So from these 3 colors, we're going to make all the colors we need. Alright, so we are going to mix our cad yellow and ultramarine blue to get a very kind of an earthy green. We're mixing cad yellow and magenta to get a bright orange, and ultramarine blue and magenta to get a nice purple. We have burnt sienna and lamp black. You can combine those 2 to get a nice brown, or you can combine all 3 colors to get a brown, but I like this brown better. So totally up to you, whatever you want to do. All right, so first thing we're going to do is you're going to get a piece of watercolor paper. Now this is just watercolor paper that you could get anywhere. It's just Canson XL. I think you can get it at Walmart. It's got 2 sides to it. So it's got a smooth side, a smoother side, and one side that has a little more texture. So I don't know if you can really see it on camera. If I hold it like that, you can maybe see the texture. And then this side is smooth. So we want to use the textured side. And I am going to tape it down a little bit, just on a piece of cardboard. Watercolor paper tends to warp when you get it wet. You don't have to do this, but it does help. So you're also going to need a pencil, an eraser, a palette of some sort. You can just use like a white paper plate or your kitchen plate if you have white one. White will work the best because then you can see your colors shine through. Paper towel and water. You can use 2 cups of water if you want, the 2-cup method with dirty water and clean water, or you can just use 1. It's up to you. It's no big deal. So what we're going for is nice vibrant color. We're going for learning how to let the watercolor do its thing on paper. So Canson XL is a wood pulp paper, and it is fine for practice work. Professionals use cotton paper, which is 100% cotton, but we're not going to use that yet. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to sketch out our leaf. Always sketch light. It's okay if pencil shows through on watercolor, but we definitely want to sketch light and erase any extra graphite. So get your eraser out as well. All right, so I'm going to do a very simple maple leaf. And we're just going to sketch. We're going to use the whole paper. We don't want anything too small. All right, so there's my stem. Hopefully you can see that. I'm going to draw a little darker than I need to because I want you to be able to see it. Okay, there's just the stem portion. That's right here. And then we're going to start putting our veining. All right, so maple leaf has a nice long middle stem, and then all of it comes out from the same point. So it's kind of like a hand, kind of a flatter hand. So I'm going to go this way, and then a nice big one that way. Okay, so that's the basic inner shape of the veins. And then we are going to do a simple, I don't know, like if you want to call it like an ocean wave, or, you know, you've done these motions before. I'm sure you've done drawings of like ocean waves or just swooshes. That's all we're going to do. We're going to make it really simple on ourselves. It doesn't have to look like a super realistic, you're welcome to do a realistic maple leaf with all of the, kind of fringy looking edges and all of that. But we're just going to keep it simple today because we're more focused on the watercolor. So I'm going to do some swooshes. And get a little close to the edge of the paper. Nice thing about leaves is they all look different, kind of like people. This one's got 2 swooshes. I do want them to kind of match on the ends or on either side. A swoosh and a swoosh. Okay, so I have the same number of swooshes on each side. And you can kind of a little fatter in the middle than I did last time. All right. Nice big leaf. Okay, so then I'm going to take my big eraser and just pull off any of the excess graphite because it will smear. You still want to be able to see it. I just want to get rid of some of the extra stuff. Okay, there you go. So you can faintly see my outline. So now we're ready. All right, so I'm going to mix up a little bit of brown first. I just take, you're going to get 2 brushes, sorry. Kind of random going all over the place. You're going to get 2 brushes. One's going to be a bigger brush, one's going to be a smaller brush for details. When you're mixing colors, you probably want to mix with your bigger brush. But when you're doing fine details like the veining, you're going to want to use your smaller brush. I would say the majority of this painting, I'll use my bigger brush. All right, so you're going to have 5 little pans like this. They're going to have the color. They've got the names written on the side if you get confused, because sometimes these darker colors like lamp black and ultramarine blue can, when they're dry, they can look very similar. So I've got names written on them for you to use. And then the first thing you're going to do when you get your colors out is you're going to drop some water in them and just let them kind of soak. That will kind of activate the watercolor and loosen up the pigment so you can scoop it out of the pan. So we're going to scoop a little color. We're making our brown stem right now, and I'm going to take just a little bit of black. Ooh, look at that. Way too much black. All right, let's start over. A little bit of brown. The burnt sienna isn't as pigmented as some of the other colors. It's just kind of a really nice neutral orangey brown. All right, now I'm going to take just a little bit of black. There we go. And test it on my little paper here, and that's just a nice neutral, nice brown. All right. All right, so now to my little brush, I'm going to scoop up some of this brown, and I'm going to fill in my first layer. Remember, we do lots of layers with watercolor and pencils, and it's all meant to be layered. Okay, so practice these lines because these are really fine lines, and sometimes, you know, maybe on your scrap, or when we did the color wheel, you could practice some really skinny lines. Take your little brush and just see how light you have to go to get a skinny line. Maybe we'll practice this in class. Okay, so we're just lightly, we'll go over these again once we get all the color in. This is just to kind of give us an idea of where we're going, and so we don't lose our lines. And this is, like I said, wood pulp paper, so it is going to dry really fast. You can easily see when it's wet or when it's dry. When it's wet, it's got a kind of a sheen to it. It looks wet. When it's dry, it's more matte color, more matte finished. Okay, so this one's almost dry already. That one's dry already. So that's all we're going to do for that right now. We'll come back to that a little bit later. All right, and this week we are working on wet in wet. So what that means is we get our paper wet first, then we drop in color. So I am going to follow my pencil lines, and I am going to add a light layer of water and fill in just up to the brown line and right up to the pencil lines. Gotta be careful not to go outside the line. Okay, so I don't know if you can see that, but you can see that it's got a sheen to it. Then what we're going to do is we're going to drop in some color. So I have my colors over here kind of laid out in the color wheel. I'm going to dip a little bit of red, and I'm just going to drop it in and watch it kind of spread out. So I dip my brush into my red, and I kind of touch the paper. And the water will move it around however it wants to move it around. We will do 2 layers of this. The second layer is more called a glazing, so you're just going over to enhance the colors, but we will do 2. I'm going to take some yellow and drop it in and see if I can get a little bit of orange. So I'm going to let those 2 colors kind of mix on the paper and do what they want. Some places get a little dry, so you have to help it, but you don't want to help it too much. All right. I'm going to turn my paper, and I'm going to get a little more clean water. I'm going to go near the brown lines. See, if you touch it, it just pulls it, which is okay. It's totally okay. Ooh, that's already turned. All of that is turned kind of a orangey color. So it's just fun to watch what the colors do. Now we don't want big puddles of color on our paper, so if we do put a puddle of color, we want to kind of move it around or pick it up. No, I really didn't want to move that much of that color around, but it's all right. We'll see what it does. Could add a little more red here. Now I could add blue right to the paper, but there is no blue in leaves. So we're going to create a green. So I'm going to put a little yellow on my palette. Rinse off my brush, because you don't want to create muddy colors, and pick up just a little bit of blue. I might have to get more. I'd rather get too little than too much right away, like I did with the black. Can always go back for more. So I'm going to make a green, and then I'm going to add that in some places. Now, as long as I don't swoosh it around and combine the colors, they shouldn't make mud. I just let them move on their own. Because really, green and orange would make brown. But notice it's not making brown right now. All right, it's kind of the fun of watercolor. All right, and brown's totally fine. Like, brown is part of leaves. Not saying we can't make brown. All right. Now, if you want to avoid the bleed altogether, you could go to the other side of the painting and start over there, and then let that dry a little bit. Totally up to you. All right, I'm going to keep going. So be careful in these points because it's easy to distort them with this bigger brush. Follow your lines. Now you can see, I don't know if you can see, but my paper is warping already. Now this is not a Sunday night project. This is going to take a little while because this has to dry completely before you can turn it in. All right, so you see this ugly little puddle right here? I can clean my brush off, dry it off, and kind of pick up some of that color. Kind of same in here if it's getting too much. I always remix my colors on my palette. Like if I make a yellow with ultramarine blue, it's going to separate. Ultramarine blue, which is really hard to say by the way. Ultramarine blue is a granulating color. So it kind of, you can see it separates and looks granular. Alright, so this is still wet, I think. I'm going to drop some red in here. Now if I want to get a little crazy, I can drop a little blue in there. Again, blue's not really a natural leaf color, but if it's wet enough, otherwise you can just make purple on the side. Let's make some purple. So always take your lighter color first. Take your red, and then add in a little blue. So that's kind of a fuchsia color. You can get a wide range of colors with just these three colors because you can make all the colors between this purple and red. You can make all kinds of colors between this purple and blue, all kinds of colors. Just the more you add, the more one color you add, it changes. Watercolor takes a lot of patience. Some of you may not like that. Too bad. Take your time. Make it colorful. None of them are going to look the same. Your leaf will not look like mine, no matter how hard you try. And that's good. I want your own creative leaf. All right, we're going to get a little more purple in here. We will get some brown in there eventually. I want to get some red in here. Now this is magenta, not entirely pure red. Ooh, we got some nice brown in there. We'll let that dry and then we'll go back and richen up some of that purple. All right, clean water. Now my green is almost dry on my palette. That's totally fine. You just re-wet it. Drop it in. I think I'm going to make an orange. So yellow first. Make a puddle of yellow. Then just a little bit of red. And get a nice orange. Just a reminder, I'm sure we talked about it in class, but always pull your brush, never scrub. You don't want to take your brush and do that with the bristles. That will really ruin your brush. So make sure you're always either pulling. You want the bristles always to go the same way. All right, that's probably going to be more of an issue when we get to acrylic, but you never know. I'll tell you then too. Okay, so just keep wetting your sections and choosing colors to drop in. I can drop in some of this burnt sienna. This, you can see how it's not quite as pigmented, but it's a very pretty color. Could put black in with it and let it do its thing. Whoops. I touched the line. All right, let's get some yellow. All right, so those are my colors. I'm gonna let that dry. It will probably take half an hour. Maybe not quite that long, but I'm gonna give it half an hour to dry, and then I will come back and we'll do our next layer. So make sure you dry this between layers. All right, so see you in a bit. All right, I'm back. My paper is dry. As you can see, I didn't touch it, so I didn't make any mud. Like we were talking about, some of these areas where, you know, things shouldn't naturally be touching, like the green and the, well, we had orange in here, but the green and the red, the green and the orange, that should naturally make mud, and it didn't because I didn't fiddle around with it. So we are going to go and do our second layer, which is called glazing, just to add some more vibrancy to our color. So make sure you've got your clean water, your brush. You may have to re-wet your paint because this did take quite a while. It probably took a half an hour. I just let it dry, air dry. You could blow dry it, but then if you take a blow dryer, you're risking moving the water outside of the leaf, and we don't want to do that. So I just went and had a snack and let it dry. So I am going to kind of follow the colors that I've already got on here and make them a little brighter. So I'm going to take some red, and I am going, now I'm not wetting the paper first, and I'm going to clean up some of these edges because you can see they're really, this doesn't look good right now, right? This is kind of an ugly project at the moment because it's just, that's how it works. That's how art works. It's not always pretty from the beginning. So I'm going to start cleaning up some of these edges, and I'm going to add some more color, and I'm going to go kind of over the stem portion. So I really like that. I want this to transition to more of an orange, so I'm going to re-wet my orange over here and put some of the orange in. Now you'll still see colors that have already dried. Those colors shouldn't move. You're creating something new over it, but you can see through it because watercolor is transparent. All right, and then I'm going to pick up my yellow. And just kind of blend these colors. And like I said, I'm going over the stem portion this time. And cleaning up my edges. I'm not scrubbing. I'm still not scrubbing. I'm just lightly going over, very light. See, I can even go over that and you'll see kind of an orange shine through. So watercolor is a lot of fun, but it takes a lot of patience. Okay, I'm going to make this more red. I really like the red that went up there. Re-wet my green. Now there's probably a bigger chance of me getting a muddy green here because I'm touching some of these colors, but hopefully not. Again, take your time, clean up the edge. Still want our work to look nice. Alright, I think I did purple over here, so I'm going to do a little yellow and then I'm going to make some purple. Alright, I'm going to reactivate my purple. Just a touch of water. And then I'm going to go over this purple area. Now be careful not to stick your arm in the wet paint that's over here. Okay, so you can start to see how it's just really adding a vibrant layer. So what was kind of a meh color is now really starting to wake up. You know, especially since we put clear water, it's really hard to see if we got a good clean edge. So no worries, we just clean it up. All right, I'm gonna take a little yellow, I think, and blend that edge. And then go in with my, I'm gonna have to make some more green. Another nice thing about watercolor, if your little pans do get dirty, you can just take a wet brush and just clean them out. You can almost just kind of reverse paint. You're just taking the paint out. That's yucky. Technical term there, yucky. All right, I'm going to keep going here since this is all green too. If you don't like taking the watercolor straight from the pan, you can put a little bit on your palette. That's not a big deal. right, now I want some orange. A little bit of color actually goes a really long way. So that may not have looked like I had much color left on my palette, but it is. Now, since there is yellow in both green and orange, I can take my yellow. Actually, I can leave that hard line if I want. Or I can take my yellow and kind of soften it. Oh. Either way. I'm going to make a little bit more purple. So magenta, because that's the lighter of the two colors. And then a dab of blue. Maybe a little bit more blue. Ooh, that's even purplier than before. Okay, this edge really needs to be cleaned up. Now I'm not obviously adding as much color, so there's not as much pooling going on. Now here, I think I did the burnt sienna, so I'm going to grab that. Drop that in. Now this might make a funky color here. Ooh, I think I have one more color that I'm going to show you how to make. I'm going to try it. Although we do have lamp black, so we could make a gray. Otherwise, you can mix burnt sienna and ultramarine blue and get a gray. All right, green. Look how messy that edge got. Wow. Not sure what I was doing. Okay, now I gotta stay away from, oh, look at that yellow creeping in on the burnt sienna. I can always go over that again. I might. I really want some of that burnt sienna in there. Yellow is kind of a pushy color. I've noticed that if it goes anywhere, it's the one that's pushing everybody around. I don't know why. All right, and I can touch up anything that I think needs to be touched up. I think I'm going to add a little more orange over here. Now the brushes you're using are nothing fantastic. They are just run-of-the-mill craft brushes. There are watercolor brushes, there are all the fancy things, but you don't really need them. Not right now anyway. Maybe if you wanted to continue, you could get a nicer palette. You could get some nicer palette. Well, they make lots of palettes with lots and lots of colors. Crayola, not so good, but there are lots of other palettes that are wonderful out there. So you can just keep adding color till you're happy with what it looks like. All right, that's gonna have to dry again. So, actually, I don't like this edge. But I think because I added yellow, I pushed the orange out. Now the glaze, you can move it a little bit more. If you don't like a harsh line, you can go in and kind of lightly scrub it out. All right, I'm gonna let this dry again, so I'll be back. All right, I am back and we're gonna finish this up. So this is dry. Some of the spots have a little bit of a shine to it. That's just part of the paint. That burnt sienna seems to have something in it that makes it a little shinier. So we are going to re-go over the stem, add in the veining again, and then we're going to do a background. So should be pretty quick. All right, I'm going to mix up a little bit more brown. Take my bigger brush. This burnt sienna is, like I said, not very pigmented, so you need quite a bit of it. Okay. Then a touch of black. I want a little bit darker brown this time than I had before. Okay, so I'm gonna take my little brush. Again, we're gonna do those really tiny strokes, so if you need to re-practice again, go ahead and do that. We just want a really, really light touch, the very, very tip of that brush. So we're gonna pick up some of this paint and I'm gonna go back over my stem. If any of that lightness peeks through, that just adds to the dimension. So And then I'm going to follow my veining. Almost sketching with my paintbrush. This one, remember they all come out of the same spot. They don't need to be super dark. We're just putting a hint of color in there. And then I'm also going to add like the little side veins. So everywhere there is a point, I'm going to direct a little vein towards it. Just kind of a little curved line. Again, make sure you don't stick your arm in your paint. One more. There. I'm sure there's more veins and all kinds of stuff, but we're just going for simple here. All right, so we're going to take a break from the brown for right now, and I'm going to switch to the background. So I'm going to do a really light wash of ultramarine blue. So I'm going to take a little bit out and put it on my palette. So I'm going to swoosh my brush around in here and dab some out, because I want a very light wash of this. So I have this puddle right here. I'm going to take some water and I'm going to dilute it because I want it really diluted down. So I'm going to pull some off to the side here and really water this down. And then I am just going to go around my leaf. Now, if that's too blue for me, I can put water right on the paper and dilute it down. This will dry lighter, and we're going to do kind of a rough edge, so we don't have to go all the way to the edge of the paper. We're just going to do this all the way around. And even if you touch the leaf a little bit, you shouldn't pick up any color, as long as you're not spending too much time there. So, like, none of that is bleeding out because it's already dry, it's already in the fibers of the paper. It should stay where it is. Should is the key word, but for the most part it will. Okay, we're not trying to get a smooth color. I mean, you can if you want, but I'm just kind of going for a very sky effect, which isn't really all one color. It's kind of a variation of colors. Now that one bled a little bit. I think there was a lot of pigment there though. See, even though I'm scrubbing, my bristles are all still the same way. So I can scrub like this, just don't crush the point. Now your paper will probably warp again. You probably noticed once it dried, it got fairly flat. It'll warp again, and then it will flatten out again. So just let it do its thing. All right, we're gonna let that dry. And then we're gonna add in a little bit of a shadow. Just kind of fun, kind of add some dimension, and then we're gonna add speckles, because, I mean, it's fun. So, splatters are always fun. So I'll show you how to do that. So let this dry, this background, and yeah, but it's still too shiny. Shouldn't take very long, but I'll be back once again. Okay, I'm back again. Page is dry. We are going to add a little bit of a shadow, and then we're going to do some splatters. So I told you I would show you how to mix a nice gray, but honestly you could just use your lamp black. But you can take a little burnt sienna, put a gob down. Ooh, I got a good amount out. And then a little bit of ultramarine blue, not much, and just mix it together. Okay, I need more. And you're gonna get a nice kind of browny, warm gray. Okay, if you can see that. So that's what I'm going to use. Otherwise, you can just take lamp black and dilute it. I mean, right there is gray. So just pull it out a little bit, and you've got a nice gray. Okay, so little brush. I am going to go right up against my leaf. I'm going to go on the right side of it and the underside. So anything that looks like it's underneath it. So I'm going to do just a little bit of a swoop right there. Actually, that might be too much like the color. So I am going to go with lamp black. Okay, because I want my shadow to be a different color then. Okay, so I'm going to go right underneath and then to the right of my stem. Okay, you see that? Just a little bit of a, we're casting a shadow. My blue is fairly dry, so it's not going to bleed. Okay. Then I'm going to go under my leaf a little bit. And then, now I'm not going to go on this side because that is above. So I'm going to go up here and go below. And to the right. this is below. Just a little bit of that. And then this is to the right. So just a little bit of that. And you can start to see it kind of pop out of the page. Just a little bit. It's just casting a little bit of a shadow. Like it's laying on water or something. Or on a blue table, or I don't know. Okay, I can go this side as well. It's not going to be very much though. There. All right, and the final and last step is some splatters. So I'm going to wet down my brush. I'm going to pick up all of the brown I have. I want it pretty watery. I'm going to scoop up as much as I can in my brush. And then I'm going to tap it on my finger. Now this has potential to make a big mess of your table. So wherever you want splatters, go ahead and put splatters. And then let it dry, and that's it. Make sure you write your name on it, since this isn't actually in our book, or you could tape it in your sketchbook. Either way is fine by me. But then once it's dry, you'll pull the tape up and you'll turn it in. If you don't like that tape mark, just come in here with some blue. Add it in. All right, there's your leaf project. So I hope you guys have fun with this. I hope you guys get some really great colors out of this. And I cannot wait to see what you turn in. I hope you all have a great week. See you soon. Bye.